We have yet another episode being done today for the past podcast. If you're tuning in, I do appreciate it. If you'd like to check out any previous episodes, go to Spreaker.com/Brite Podcast. Nonetheless, let's continue the show. Alright, y'all, past podcast, back at it again, hopping into these episodes. We'll make these things work. So I have a few, like I said, I want to have a few already kind of prepped, so you'll kind of get a taste of where we're starting, and then just kind of make them improvs and on the fly from there. So, looking on my wall, and I have a picture that a friend of mine, well, a friend that I made, through social media had designed for me a couple of years, actually a couple of years ago. It's a picture that says, "I'm not being rude, I'm taking notes in Evernote." And this is kind of leading to a funny story, but it's a true story. And I'm sorry, before I continue, it states that I'm not being rude, I'm taking notes in Evernote, top and bottom, and then in the background is green, and the actual image is the black image of the elephant that's used for Evernote. Excuse me, sorry. If you personally have used Evernote, you'll realize that Evernote is your best friend in the most duress and unexpected situations. And here's why I say that. A couple of weeks ago, I was having lunch with a friend of mine who I've known pretty much almost at least 10 years. And, I'm sorry, before I continue, I apologize. And I didn't do this in the last podcast, but hold it to my head, not my heart. This is the past podcast. Doing yet another episode. I guess I'm kind of doing my own promotions and branding of some sort. Doing the episodes thanks to the Blue microphone, which is on bluemic.com. I'll have the link shared in the notes, as well as Spreaker.com, where I've been storing my episodes. And as I state each time, or have been trying to emphasize, if you're just starting out and you just want to do quick episodes and just kind of get a feel for podcasting, the Spreaker is a good site that I use. And I definitely want to help anyone who's trying to get started. I've had a couple of people ask me about getting into podcasting, and I've become a sponge. So because I've been a sponge with learning podcasting, I want to help anyone who wants to do this get to that next level as far as podcasting and talking on a mic and just speaking their thoughts and expressing their mind. So I definitely take time in doing that. Even something as small, I just literally, I'm kind of thinking I may go back to doing this starting on this coming Saturday. Because I usually wear these huge headphones when I'm doing my podcast, but I realized just putting in these little small earbuds that I bought from Rite Aid, from a pharmacy, just using these to kind of get the back listen of the episodes helps out a lot. So if you don't have to spend a lot, don't. But if you are able to find good deals, go for it. And, like I said, I talk about the bluemic.com site, but I also emphasize, I got this mic literally for $100. So $100 microphone with its own stand, not a bad deal. My previous mic, I kind of cry about every so often. It's actually sitting on the floor. But the Samsung Meteor, I was using that microphone, and I'm kind of I know this is kind of like a microphone tangent, but I'm going to get back to the Evernote part of it in a moment. Because Evernote's actually helpful with my podcast, and I'll break that down as well. But I have, I was using my microphone, and then I had a stand, so it just kind of worked out in a pretty legit manner where I had to stand, and I kind of had a routine of just carrying the stand. With this microphone, I really don't need the stand, but I have the stand available on an as needed basis, because there are moments that I may want to just not sit there. It's stated and it's confirmed that it's not recommended to use the microphone on the stand if you don't have to, because you can kind of hear everything. So like all these little noises and background sounds are easily heard. But I'm stating this just kind of giving a little bit of a ramble, just to let people know that the microphone has kind of been my outlet and my source of just sanity between buying this mic. And then I think I spent about $20 or $25 on the case for it. That was just for me a very good move, and it just kind of makes everything more portable for me to carry what I have. Like I can literally carry my laptop and my microphone and be gone, and I have everything I need, because in my little case I have my pop filter, I have my windscreens. I keep a windscreen in the laptop, in the podcast bag. So that 5-minute tangent or 4.5 minutes, however you want to put it, was just me kind of rambling a little bit with that part. But going back to Evernote, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine, we sat down and we were having lunch because we hadn't talked in a while, and she was giving me quite a few tips and tricks about different things. And I'm a person who, I don't mind taking notes, but typically I don't keep pen and paper with me on a consistent basis. So in the event that I don't, and I really need to like get a note like right away, I usually just go to Evernote and put the notes in. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to make sure while I'm talking about this, I have and this is for any of the Apple users, and I wouldn't be surprised if Gear is the same way. They have the feature on, they have the Evernote app on the watch. So if you need to get a note real quick, yeah, you can actually, you can speak your notes and they'll be saved on your phone or watch. And boom. So I hit done, and more than likely it's going to go to my default location, and I can set an alarm for it as needed. But that's, to some that may not seem like a lot, but that's actually a pretty big deal, because if it's something you're trying to remember, like if you don't want to pull your phone out and type something up in front of somebody, you can just kind of speak it into your watch and it'll be saved. So that's actually not a bad feature to have. I don't think the other feature is there. Now I'm giving you kind of the generic quick fix statement about Evernote, but Evernote is very, very, can be used to its max potential with just the basic account. With the basic account, you can have the Evernote app available on up to 2 devices. So in my case, what I've done, which I found to be convenient, is I have one on my tablet, which I'm usually on consistently, and the other one obviously is on my phone. Now my watch doesn't count as a third device because the watch pairs with the phone. So if I do a message or store a message on my watch, it's automatically going to be on my phone. And that's actually not a bad thing to have, because there are moments that you're either looking at pictures or thinking of something and you just like want to jot it before you forget, and you can pretty much like organize your notes. Like I have at least, so there are different categories you can save in Evernote, and on each category, like I have a category just for podcasts, like my podcast notes of what I'm going to talk about on my podcast, as well as what I'm going to post when I do my show notes for my podcast. So I use that, and it's been pretty helpful. I'm still trying to solidify a location for saving show notes, and I'm patiently waiting because I'm kind of in the midst of a podcast 101 class, which has been helping me out with just learning little things to improve upon becoming a better podcaster. But Evernote has been a very strong resource for, if I send, because I usually send the links of most of the topics that I talk about on my sports podcast to my co-host, and when I send it to him, usually what I've sent him, I go ahead and copy and paste that into an Evernote, into its own personal note, so that I'll have that to be able to add to the notes. Like, okay, here's what we talked about, and here are the stories that were on cue for the week. So that makes it a lot easier than having to look all over the place and find stuff and figure out, oh, I don't know where it is. It's all right there. So it makes it a lot easier. had information when I was doing Black History Month. Each of the individuals I was doing, I didn't in February, and anyone who kept up with that on my personal social media, I stopped. I'm not gonna say I took a break from doing it, or I stopped doing it because I lost the original document that I had with the names. And because of that, I didn't have anywhere specific for them to be stored. So I just dropped the ball on that, and I apologize to you all for that, because that wasn't really me doing my best organizational work, but it's lessons learned. You live, you learn, of course. But going back to Evernote, you can, like I said, if any note that you're trying to keep or have a track of, it's there. And as long as it's automatic, most times it's going to sync up pretty well. On my computer, if I go to the web-based version of Evernote, it's automatically, like, as soon as you save a note, it's available on any other devices that are online to access your notes. So with the tablet, the disadvantage to some degree is most times my tablet I keep offline. So once I connect it back online, then that note is usually going to be, the notes that may have been written or stored elsewhere are going to show up on that device. So I like that feature with having it on another device. I introduced my mom to another program that I want to introduce you all to as well. So Evernote is good for taking notes, keeping, jotting information. And I'm sorry, I want to add this too. You can also draw images. You can store images. You can store links. Like, let's say you went to a website and you're going to forget the website and you don't feel like saving it as a favorite because you don't know if you're going to get to that favorite ever again. You can store those notes or store that page as an Evernote by itself, and it'll be in your Evernote section ready to be viewed at any point. Most times it'll even share the link for you as to where you went. I post a lot of links for different pages. I'll post them as a new Evernote, so I'll make sure that I can remember it. It's very convenient and accessible for the purpose that I use it for. Now, the other program that I want to use, or that I want to talk about, helps with anyone who goes to the store or anyone who has tasks of things that they want to remember. I found this program a couple of months ago. Didn't really use it much, but I have it available as a just in case. And it's called Wunderlist. And literally, it has an odd spelling, so let me go ahead and spell it for you. Wunderlist. So instead of an O for wonder, it's WU for Wunderlist. And like the example I gave, if you go into the store, most times you write, all the things you're gonna get from the store on a piece of paper, write each thing down, and then when you get to the store, you gotta make sure you got the pen, you gotta make sure you got the paper. Well, technology has made things just a little bit simpler for you. So all you have to do is, okay, here are my groceries, and here's what I need to get from the grocery store, or here's what I need to get from the market. Everyone has different terms wherever you're from, but you can put those notes in you can put those tasks in Wunderlist, and then while you're in the store, as you're picking up items, you can check, like, you just touch where that item is, and it'll just kind of be cleared away and say, all right, you picked up that item. So I've found that to be something that is helpful for anyone who does go shopping, because by nature we forget things. It's human nature. Nobody's perfect. Nobody remembers everything. If you do, props to you. But even I lose it. I'll lose it as soon as it's gone. But Wunderlist and Evernote are two programs that kind of almost are very essential when it comes to note taking or list taking. And I'll share this story and then I'll kind of come to a close. I've been in the note hunting, the note searching business probably this 2007, at least 5 or 6 years. I was using a program called Catch. Catch was good. Then Catch shut down. So when Catch shut down, I was like, I need another program. So I did some more research, found SpringPad. SpringPad was pretty decent, a little bit better than Catch, but I was feeling the SpringPad flow. SpringPad shut down, and it was, okay, where do I go, or what can I use next? I think I avoided Evernote solely because there was a uncertainty as far as pricing, because you don't want to use something unless you know it's going to benefit you in the manner that it's for. With the basic service, what I was posting or what I would have in it I don't even scratch that surface by a long shot, so it's not too bad. So I was able to pull all my information from Catch over to SpringPad, then from SpringPad over to Evernote, and it's been on Evernote, and I've been with Evernote ever since. And I saw this image, and it made me think of using the Evernote features and also adding that as a podcast, because when I was talking to my friend and I told her about Evernote, made her realize, and it makes you kind of sit back and understand that something as small as just being able to get a quick note or jot down a quick piece of information goes a very long way. So I'm not ending, it's not like I'm ending the podcast as if I'm rushing you all off, but that's kind of mainly the two things I wanted to talk about in this particular podcast. Evernote is at evernote.com, and Wunderlist, if you look, pretty much both apps, what I would recommend doing is installing it on your mobile device, which would typically be either cell phone or tablet first, using them there. And once you have it pretty well handled, you can update the information on the web. So if you updated a list on your computer, it syncs to your phone and vice versa. So that way you have it available as needed. It's kind of almost like a mobile wish list. So if you think of something that you need to buy or something that you're thinking about on Amazon and you can't get to Amazon at that moment, just put it into Wunderlist or Evernote it. Use your note-taking tasks wisely, because a lot of times we are so used to using paper and pen. But if you lose the paper, then the note's gone. So it's just something to think about. Granted, it can be a worst-case scenario. If you lose the phone, then you lose all your data and your information as well. But we know how technology and worst-case scenarios can kind of go hand in hand. But I just want to do that podcast, or do that as somewhat of a note-taking tip, because we take notes and we jot information so frequently that it's probably almost part of our second nature and we don't know it. So I thought that would be a small way or a small token of just giving you the simplified version of how to use resources to get things down that you may or may not remember at an unexpected point. So I will go ahead and end the podcast here. As always, you can find me on Spreaker. It's at Brighte Podcast. On Instagram, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, I am under Past Podcast. I have not really been using Snapchat. I always emphasize that Snapchat is kind of my ranting and raving. I may start using Instagram Live soon to get some thoughts out. Just be on the lookout for that. But I just wanted to share this episode with you all. And thanks for tuning in. Until next time, this is the Past Podcast signing out. Peace. We've done it once again. We finished yet another episode. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you're not following on Twitter or on Facebook, please look up Past Podcast. That's PASS Podcast, one word. I am accepting inquiries for any topics or concerns at pastpodcastbt@gmail.com. And just continue to support. I appreciate all the support and everyone listening and tuning in. Until next time, y'all take it easy.